Hey, what's up? What's going on, everyone? Hope y'all are doing well. Been doing well. Gonna be back at it again with another video here. We're gonna discuss the carburetors and rebuilding them, and basic tune settings. So, if you don't know already, the 3.3, 2.5R, and 2.5 all use the same carburetor and run the same basic tune. It's all the same from stock factory. It's all the same. So let's get into it. Let's start with a little comparison here. So this is a OEM Traxxas carburetor for your 2.5, 2.5R, and 3.3 motors. One of the biggest ways you can tell is the way this looks, and from the high-speed needle. The high-speed needle will always have the little finger gripper on there, so you can turn it with your finger, right? And you see these quite a bit online. You see more of these online when you're searching for a TRX carburetor than you actually do TRX carburetors, and then a lot of people end up going with them because they're so cheap compared to the TRX carburetor. And you can see here the high-speed needle on this one is completely different, as well as the way this looks. And lastly, you can see this one has a shiny black plastic, and this one is a gray. These are junk. You'll get lucky every once in a while. These will work and they'll hold a tune for a second, but then you'll run into this. Constantly retuning, constantly retuning, constantly retuning. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. If you have one of those and you run into that issue, get rid of it. I mean, I say get rid of it, period, because these are junk. For me, these are junk. I've tried them several times over the years, and they're garbage. I just have this one for explanation. I'll never use this. I will 100% buy a rebuild kit, or I'll buy a new carburetor. And when I do buy a new carburetor, I'm going to go to jennysrc.com. Check them out. They're going to have the best prices of anywhere on all your RC parts and needs. Promise. Check them out. jennysrc.com. So, if you don't know, you can pretty much buy every piece of this carburetor new, just like any other part, right? It's like you get a carburetor slide. That's just a slide. If that's what you need. Sometimes you need it. You can get a carburetor body. Comes with O-rings and one of the plugs. Then you can get the carburetor O-ring and seal kit, which comes with the tools to replace the O-rings on your low-speed needle and your high-speed needle. You can get the low-speed needle brand new. You can get the high-speed needle brand new. You can buy every part of these. Every part. So, if you're having issues with your tuning and it's not consistent, there's something wrong. And one of the best places to start is redoing your carburetor. If you redo your carburetor and you still have the problem, you need to dig a little deeper. Because for real, you're going to have issues like leaking air is what's most likely going on. And if it's not from your carburetor, it's going to be from your motor backplate for the easy start, or the starter, pull start, whatever you're using, or it could be a crack in the crankcase. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it could be a crack in the crankcase. Could be a bad head seal. You never know until you actually find it. But if you're having issues with tuning and it's not consistent and doesn't stay consistent, there's something wrong. You should be able to tune your car and run it and it hold a tune for quite a while. I've got cars that I've had for years, still running the same tune, same glow plug, everything the same. Just recharge the battery, put gas in it, off she goes. I've bought 2 different cars from the East Coast, had them sent to me on the West Coast, put gas in them, touch the high-speed needle just a tiny bit, and I mean just a tiny bit. I don't even think it was enough to be like significant. And run. I have a car that I had sent from the East Coast that I put gas in, started, and it took off. And it's still taking off. And it's still doing great. I haven't touched the tune. So I promise, if you're having tuning issues and it is not consistent, won't stay consistent, there's something wrong. You're going to want to dig into that. Glow plugs get real expensive real fast. I had a crankcase that I actually finally threw away, but it had a crack in it that you couldn't see, couldn't tell, and I didn't know until after I tore the motor apart to see what was going on, and I was blowing some air to like clean off the cleaner, and I seen it bubble on the inside, and that's when I found the crack. So I'll try and post some pictures of it somewhere on this if I can edit it right, but I can't promise you that because I'm still just learning all this, so you'll have to bear with me. When it comes to doing your carburetor, you'll need a couple of things. You'll need a good screwdriver. This is my tuning screwdriver. I only use this for tuning. It is amazing. If you don't have one, you should get one. I got it off Amazon. Kind of sucks. My light's bright in here. I got some homemade work lights that I put up here to help me see better. But yeah, it's I don't even remember the brand. CHP PG1 4. So 3.0 by 100. Amazing for tuning. These little Traxxas Jatos and T-Maxes and Revos. So if you don't have one, you should look into getting one. So well, yeah, let's discuss this a little bit here. So like I said, the carburetor rebuild kit comes with tools to put your little O-rings back on, which are amazing. Okay, amazing. So you'll want to get a pick, a really good pick, a sharp, small point. And you'll want to dig that first one out. I don't recommend you use anything too sharp. You don't want to mar it up or scratch it up and give yourself another issue where you can leak air. So we're trying to avoid leaking air and having tuning issues. So there is 2 little O-rings on these OEM carbs, and You'll want to change them both. The one you almost can't tell is there. It's up underneath that cap. And this high-speed needle's been pushed up into that cap, so it's even harder to see and get to. I saved and chose a terrible one here to use. Seriously. Let's see, I got another one here. I'll just throw this one away. That one's a hunk of crap. Anyways. So there's 2 O-rings on this. You got your first one right there that you can clearly see. I don't want to poke myself in the finger here. There's one. We gotta use the other light here. Got this other little fancy light that I made. It's just magnetic, flexible on a piece of metal. It's the light I use for pinpoint. Holy shnikes, man. I've never had that much of a problem here. And of course, my light's dead. The other one. So, one of the other things you'll want to do when you're rebuilding is clean. Right? Because we don't want like all that nasty shit up in our carburetor. Well, that light is really bright. Oh, it's that. So you don't want all that nasty shit up in the carburetor. So you'll want to wipe it off and clean. And if you are cleaning your carburetor to get rid of whatever bad gas, because you didn't clear it out properly, whatever it happens, you know, whatever. Like I said in my other video, I use the same thing to clean everything. 91% rubbing alcohol. You'll want the higher percentage alcohol, I promise. The other one will work, it just won't be as good. But it'll work. Now, after you get your O-rings off, like your high-speed needle and your low-speed needle, low-speed needle's the same. It's a lot easier because there isn't one hiding up underneath the cap. You got your 2 little tools. You got a big one, a small one. You can see there. Big hole, small hole. Big hole for the high-speed needle. Put it on there with the taper down. Then you take your O-rings. And each needle takes a different size O-ring, so pay attention to that. It's hard to see the difference, but one has a bigger hole, one's a little thicker. So, the bigger ones, they go on your high-speed needle. And you just slide it on there. Slide it right into the groove. Now, don't worry about trying to get the one under the cap on there first. Just put this one on there first and then put your other one on. This one on there, it'll allow you to get the other one up underneath the cap on there easier. Slide the other one on there. Slide it past the other one. And it should just go right in the groove after you slide it past the other O-ring. I know you can't really see that, but it just popped right on there. Like I said, make sure you wipe it off. Then you do the same thing to your low-speed needle. The low-speed needle is a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to do. Same concept. You just take them off, put them back on. I thought I had a low-speed needle here, but can't find one. So I guess let's just take this one out. The low-speed needle is a lot easier, like I said. You just pop those off. Then you take your small hole, slide it in there, do the same thing. Put your smaller, the 4 O-rings that come in your little kit, up on there. And then I always, you don't have to do this, but I do. I always use a little bit of O-ring grease on the new O-rings before I install them. Just so they don't get hung up and tear or something weird. I don't know. I just like to lube them a little bit. And then when you're talking cleaning and cleaning out the high speed needle housing, because that's a little tiny hole. Shoot. That's a little tiny hole. So obviously you want to get you a couple little tools and whatnot. In the carburetor housing as well, the holes are tiny. So, I mean, I use Q-tips and stuff for the big openings overall. I have a little itty-bitty drill bit that I use for poking and cleaning it off for the most part. But I also have a torch tip cleaner for oxygen acetylene torch. It's got a little different size wires and whatnot in it is what I'll use. And if I need to go super small, I just use a straight pin little needle. So then yeah, after you clean that up, clean it out, wipe it up. If you're not replacing your high-speed needle and you're just doing a rebuild, obviously you'll have to clean the carburetor body and high-speed needle housing. You'll have to clean the carburetor slide, all that. So at least that's what you should be doing. If you're tearing your carburetor off to clean, you should be cleaning the whole thing. If you don't have an air compressor, you could just get like compressed air in a can, you know, little duster thingies for whatever. This is what I use for the most part for a bunch of the stuff. And I have a little air compressor that I'll use. But yeah, for the most part, I just use the air in a can. And I just blow everything out and off. Just get it nice and dry and whatnot. If you are tearing your carburetor apart, replace all the seals. If you're tearing it apart and you know they're pretty good, whatever, and you're just cleaning it, okay, cool. But like, if your needles are like sloppy, and what I mean by sloppy is loose. If they're super easy to turn, if they're really easy to turn and there isn't a little bit of resistance there, you should be replacing the seals, because that little bit of resistance right there is going to lead to a tuning issue or it going out of tune, because the vibration of that motor is so intense. For sure, it will move those needles. I've seen it happen, and especially with these crappy carburetors right here. Seen it happen with stock carburetors, but that's just a sign that there's something wrong and it's time to replace the seals and get it back to 100%. So yeah, if your high speed's fairly taut, your low speed's fairly taut, clean it, put it back together. If it's not, replace the seals, replace the O-rings. You'll thank yourself and me later for recommending it. Hopefully, anyways. But yeah, I've done this for the better part of 20 years. I've seen just about everything that there can be seen with these 3.3s, these carbs, these Jatos especially. So I would just change them. Same with the little dust boot on the slide. If it's cracked, change it. If it's alright, don't worry about it. Clean it, put it back on. So if you do that, you should be okay. And you should be able to set your tune and hold a tune. But remember, and I'm telling you, there'll be a little bit of difference between summer and winter and hotter and colder. But if you can't run the same tune and still have pretty much the same amount of power and fun between the two, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Promise. These things hold a tune. No matter what temp it is. The motor don't give a crap what temp it is outside, especially after it's all 190, 200 degrees warmed up and just breathing fire. It don't care. It don't care, I promise you. So let's talk about the basic settings, factory settings of the TRX carburetor. We'll start with the idle gap. Everybody's seen these. I'm pretty sure everybody has one of these. This is your standard large paper clip. That's all it is. Your idle gap is pretty much that right there. So you stick it in there, and if it is the same or real close to. But really, you should do it to where there's a little bit of friction or just like no movement inside of the gap overall. And you want to judge that by the little opening right there on the one side. So you just stick your paper clip in there, screw your idle set mix screw in, out until you achieve that thickness. And for the most part, your idle is set. High speed needle, closed, 4 turns out. So you want to try and land that same position as it was, closed, but 4 turns out. If you have a hard time tracking what side is what, you can take one of these handy dandy paint markers, dab it on there, on the one side, mark it, then you know. You just do 4 turns out. Simple. Low speed. I think a lot of people confuse this on the TRX carb. What you want to do is put the screw level with the inner surface or the slide. Not the linkage, the slide. You just want to try and get it as flush as possible with that inner ring or the slide. And now this isn't going to be your perfect tune, right? But this is going to get you real close where you need to be overall to not be running too lean, not be running too rich, and be able to go. So if you do it like that, then put it in your car, you know, do a couple rips. You should know the basics of tuning and what to listen for if you're going this far. If not, you should really learn it. And then yeah, just tweak with it. And when you're doing your tuning, always set your high-speed needle first. That's going to be your overall fuel delivery. After you've got that, high speed, second gear shifts with plenty of power, right? After you're done doing that, if you need to dink with your low speed, dink with your low speed. Make it a little richer, make it a little leaner. But leave the high speed alone. Leave it alone. Just do that one. Now if you're idling a little high, just drop that idle screw a little bit. But you need to remember, that's kind of going to change rich and lean. So the mixture overall, fuel, air, it's going to change it. So just keep that in mind. Remember, high speed first. After you do a change to the high speed, rip it. You got to rip it. You can't just, that's low speed. It's never going to tell you. You need to find second gear, and you need to get after it. Another thing that a lot of people don't understand about these nitros as a whole, how it delivers the fuel into the engine is through the crankshaft. When it's idling, it's not taking in and burning all the fuel that is sitting in the crankshaft. That's why you see, like after it's idling or when you first take off from idle, it blows out much more smoke than like normal after you've been ripping and going. That's why. There's unburned fuel sitting in there waiting. It can't move at all, but as soon as you give it some yickety yak, it'll move it and it'll burn it. So remember that. Always try and find second gear when setting your high speed. After you set your high speed, do your low speed if you need to. Just remember, if you dink with the idle, it's going to change your mixture overall. Air fuel. It changes the amount of air that is coming in at idle, the gap that lets the air in. Just remember that. So, in another video, I'll go ahead and break it down and do a video actually tuning a car. I have one I need to do it to, so I'll do that and make a video of it. But that's gonna do it for this one. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Share it, like it, if you want. That's okay. So help me get the word out there and help people. That's what this is all about. I just want to help people. Nitro, it's a dying art. Not many people know about it. A lot of people struggle with it, but it doesn't have to be hard, I promise. Yeah. So share it. Help me grow the channel, man. I appreciate you guys, and you guys have a good night. Oh, also, comment and let me know what kind of stuff you want to see. I don't really know if you don't tell me, so I might just be making random videos that are irrelevant overall. But yeah, comment and let me know what you like, what you don't, what you want to see, what you need. I got a ton of experience with the Traxxas 3.3 and the Jato and T-Max Revo, like all that stuff. So yeah, let me know. All right, appreciate you guys. You have a good night and stuff.